TSMC. They make the chips that power, well, pretty much everything in our digital world. They're a cornerstone of the global economy. So when a company this critical drops its sustainability report, it's way more than just a document. It's a statement, a real signal about the future of technology itself. Today, we're going to dive right into their 2024 report to see how they view their role in engineering a more sustainable world.
To really get a handle on their impact, you first have to understand the sheer scale we're talking about. So let's start with this number, 1.17 trillion new Taiwan dollars. That was their net income. It's a figure that's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around, but it just establishes the massive financial engine we're dealing with.
Okay, now let's switch from money to manufacturing. Last year, TSMC produced 12.9 million wafers. And remember, every single one of those wafers holds hundreds, sometimes thousands of individual chips. So this isn't just some financial behemoth. It's a manufacturing force with a huge global presence, from Taiwan all the way to Arizona, Japan, and Germany.
And that really brings us to the central question of this whole explainer. When you operate at this incredible scale, with this much influence and this much resource consumption, what is your responsibility to the planet and to society? That's the exact question TSMC's sustainability strategy is trying to answer.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. We'll follow the structure of the report itself, starting with their big picture vision, and then digging into the 5 key roles they've laid out, from pioneering innovation all the way to powering societal change.
First up, the vision. See, TSMC doesn't look at sustainability as some separate department or just a checklist to tick off. They've built this integrated framework where every single part of the business has a role to play in their larger environmental, social, and governance goals.
And right at the heart of this whole thing is a concept called double materiality. Okay, I know, it sounds a little jargony, but it's a really crucial idea. It just means they look at sustainability from 2 directions. First, how do issues like climate change affect TSMC's bottom line? That's financial materiality. And second, just as important, how does TSMC's business impact the environment and society? That's impact materiality. This two-way street perspective guides their entire strategy.
So let's get into their first role, being an innovation pioneer. This is fascinating, because what they argue is that their core mission, pushing the limits of semiconductor technology, is actually one of their most powerful sustainability tools. The idea is simple. Better technology can be greener technology. Now, what's really cool about this slide is how it shows this principle in action. Just look at that change in the chip die size. By shrinking the technology from a 55-nanometer process all the way down to 3 nanometers, the physical footprint of the chip is just a tiny fraction of what it used to be. And smaller chips mean less raw material, less water, and critically, much lower power consumption to do the same job.
But what does lower power consumption really mean in the real world? Well, let's take an example. Over 500 million people across the globe live with diabetes, and so many of them rely on constant monitoring to manage their health.
And boom, this is the connection. TSMC technology powers a chip called the EM9035, which is used in these continuous glucose monitors. Because this new chip is up to 47% more energy efficient, the device's battery lasts way longer. And that's not just about convenience. It means less electronic waste, and it makes a life-saving health tool more effective and more sustainable for millions of people.
Okay, so TSMC's impact doesn't just stop at its own factory doors. They work with a massive global network of suppliers, so their next big role is making sure that entire chain operates responsibly.
And I have to say, the report is really transparent here. Out of their 609 most significant suppliers, they identified 112. That's about 18% as high risk. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually about being honest and acknowledging where the potential for environmental or labor issues is greatest, so they know exactly where to focus their attention.
So what happens when a supplier gets flagged as high risk? Well, they've got a really clear process. It starts with identification, then moves to on-site audits using global standards, and if they find issues, they issue corrective action plans. But the most important part is the follow-up. The goal isn't to punish anyone, it's to partner with suppliers to help them improve their standards over time.
Next, we're going to turn inward to their third role, practicing green power. This is all about minimizing the direct environmental impact of their own super complex and resource-intensive manufacturing. We're talking energy, water, and waste. The whole shebang. Now, the crucial point on waste here is consistency. This chart shows their recycling rate holding steady at an amazing 96 to 97%. That kind of stability tells you this isn't a one-off project. It's a mature circular economy program where waste is systematically treated as a resource.
On the energy front, this number is just staggering. In 2024 alone, TSMC saved 810 gigawatt-hours of electricity. And that's the result of over 1,100 new energy-saving measures. Everything from AI-powered systems that optimize cooling to just replacing older gear with more efficient pumps.
And then there's water. Making semiconductors is incredibly water-intensive, which is what makes this figure so important. They saved nearly 285 million metric tons of water in 2024, all through really aggressive recycling and efficiency programs. In an industry facing more and more water stress, this is absolutely critical.
Now, sustainability isn't just about the environment, right? TSMC's fourth role is all about the S in ESG, the social side. As an employer of over 84,000 people worldwide, their policies on employee well-being, diversity, and development have a huge impact. And instead of just listing policies, the report includes voices from employees. This quote from Jianming Chang really puts a human face on benefits like paternity leave. It shows how a corporate policy can translate directly into better work-life integration and shared family responsibilities.
The report also tackles pay equity head-on with data. This table shows the 2024 salary ratios in Taiwan, and they are impressively close to parity in most roles. The key takeaway here isn't just the numbers themselves, but the fact that they're publishing them. That kind of transparency creates public accountability and a clear benchmark for them to hit in the future.
And what about career growth? Well, this figure shows that nearly 89% of all their management positions were filled through internal promotions. That's a really powerful indicator of their commitment to developing talent from within, creating clear career paths for their people.
Okay, this brings us to their fifth and final role, powering societal change. This is all about them leveraging their immense resources, their money, their expertise, and their people to create a positive impact way beyond the world of semiconductors. And they do this primarily through their two major foundations.
And their efforts are incredibly broad. They're investing in the next generation by supporting over 18,000 students in STEM programs. They're fostering culture by sponsoring dozens of arts groups. They're caring for their communities by building up elder care networks. And a lot of this work is powered by their Joyful Volunteers program, which gets employees directly involved.
So after going through their vision and all 5 of these roles, we're left with this question. The report shows how one of the world's most influential companies is trying to answer it by weaving sustainability into everything from chip design to employee benefits. The real challenge for TSMC, and for the entire tech industry really, is to make sure that as our technology gets exponentially more powerful, we are consciously engineering it to build a future that's not just smarter, but truly sustainable for everyone.